Hello everybody and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It's myself George bringing you a brand new review, and today it's going to be the first two episodes of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, of course coming to Prime Video this Friday the 2nd of September. And this is going to be a very fun one to talk about because this is, the biggest TV show in history in regards to budget. I believe it's $50 million an episode, totaling $400 million for the first season, for the whole 5-season series potentially costing $2 billion, which is an incredible feat to put that into perspective, especially with other TV shows, let alone blockbusters. But before I start getting into some of my thoughts on the series and what I'm hoping to see more from it, and all that really good sort of stuff, I'm going to bring the comments for you to get involved at home, so please do comment your thoughts on The Rings of Power if you've actually seen it. Let me know if you're looking forward to it, all that sort of stuff. I'm curious to hear from people. I don't know if I should have a warning for saying that, but I'm curious to hear from people for this one, so please do get them going. And if you enjoy this video, if you enjoy Lord of the Rings, maybe this is a place to come back and subscribe to. We're going to be doing a massive spoiler discussion when the series is fully aired. We can look at season 1 as a whole, certain characters, set pieces, storylines, what we think. It's just a bit easier for us at the moment to group it together because there are so many shows, House of Dragon, we've got Andor starting. There's so many things happening, big films as well, new releases, the festival. It's just easier for us to group this into a big discussion come the finale, which I think is going to be Friday the 14th of October. And as well, if you want to find out about this video, find out about other videos we can do, sometimes we are lucky we get to see things in advance. Obviously this was the case for this, hence this review dropping on the Wednesday, and of course this is a spoiler-free review. I don't need to remind you in regards that I'm not going to spoil anything. The best way to find out about videos, when we announce them, all that sort of stuff, is our social medias, Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy. We've got a link to Redbubble in the description below where you can pick up some of our merchandise. So that's all that sort of stuff. A lot of reviews happening. I'll go over a few more things at the end of this video. But as I said, I'm here to discuss the first two episodes completely spoiler free. And I guess it's worth starting with the background for me with Lord of the Rings, with The Hobbit, leading up into the series coming out, because I've got a very interesting history with this. I didn't actually see Lord of the Rings till I was about 13 or 14. It was the theatrical version. It wasn't at the cinema. It was literally in a summer once when I was off school. I had a few friends that were really into it, and I watched it, and I really liked it. And it was only a few years later, literally like 2 years later, when The Hobbit came out, where I discovered that there was an extended edition. So I watched that in the build-up to The Hobbit. I've got that on Blu-ray. And again, I very much enjoyed it, and at that point I was studying film, so I was much more aware of the importance of the trilogy amongst pop culture, amongst Tolkien's writing, and where that stands amongst writers, people who've created universes, all that sort of stuff. So I always enjoyed it. I'm not the biggest of fans, I'm just going to put that out there bluntly. I think I respect it more than I enjoy it. I do very much enjoy it though, and there is no denying the quality of those three films. And even with The Hobbit, I think I'm going to make the comparison to Star Wars prequels. There probably won't be any Star Wars comparison. I think the Hobbit films are fine. Of course, they're not as good. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes issues with those, different directors stretching its 3 films, all that sort of stuff. And I think those films are very, very, very unfairly picked on by certain people. And just the assumption I'll make over the next few weeks is that people will now just pretend that people didn't, pick on them for the last 10 years, because we've all heard that before. So, yeah, that's my background of, I guess, Middle-earth. Again, I've only read the Hobbit book, I've not read Lord of the Rings, I've not read the Silmarillion. As I said, I'm not that familiar with Tolkien's writing itself. I obviously have a weird connection with Tolkien, that one of his grandsons built a massive thing at our primary school, so he'd been there when I was younger a fair amount, which was really random. Again, didn't watch Lord of the Rings at the time, so I didn't really know how big a deal that was for the primary school I went to. But aside from that, let's talk about the series, because when the announcement dropped this many years ago, I was very excited. I'm a massive fan of Game of Thrones, and obviously at that point, there is no denying the impact Game of Thrones has had on television as a medium, not just even like genres of fantasy, as a medium, high budget for the small screen, and everyone's doing it now. Star Wars, Marvel, DC, this, so many of us, and I think without Game of Thrones, TV wouldn't have, not excelled, but TV wouldn't have grown so quick in such a small amount of time, especially with the streaming wars, which is very fair to say this is a mighty part of, because this of course is on Prime Video. And as the casting announcements came out, because I'm not familiar with the source material, I was like, okay, young Galadriel, cool, all that sort of stuff, I've got no problems with that. I don't know what to expect because I don't know the history, and that kind of makes this far more exciting for me as a viewer heading into it. It's an adaptation. If you know what adaptation means, then please, I don't even know what I want to get into that, but same with the definition of fantasy. So yeah, I'm not going to obviously comment on a lot of ridiculous stuff that's been doing the rounds recently. Some insane stuff from very, very, very small corners of the internet trying to be in as loud voice as they can. I'm going to try and literally report on the things I've actually seen that these people haven't. So this is going to be my spoiler-free thoughts, and kickstarting it is me saying I thought it was magnificent. Again, I'm very fortunate. I'm not even bothered with the fact I saw it early. I was quite happy to wait. But what made me want to go down to London to see it, a quick one for those weird conspiracy theorists. I've had people tweeting me saying that I got paid by Amazon. No. If Amazon wanted to pay for my trains, brilliant. I'd have much rather Amazon paid for my journeys down to London. Quite contrary to what loads of idiots report online. But I got to see this at a cinema. So as I said, that's the big pull for me. And I'm very, very fortunate to do so. And I'm aware of that. If anyone's familiar with this channel, familiar with me and my history, reporting film stuff, streaming versus cinema, I always go for that big screen experience, and I've just got to say, seeing this on the big screen was remarkable. Again, I'm approaching this as the most expensive show ever made, and my god, it looked like that. It didn't look like a Netflix sort of thing where they report 100 mil budget and it looks like it's been made for 20 mil with 50 mil on salaries and whatnot. You can see the budget on screen, and what's kind of blown me away with this is how good it looks, because I did not expect this for any series. Even The Mandalorian, which you could argue has broke new grounds with the volume, potentially Cassian in a few weeks shooting on set. I've not seen a series like this. Game of Thrones, of course, had insane budgets. Battle of the Bastards is probably the best example of that. But just seeing the first 2 episodes, it sort of immediately transported me back to Middle Earth. And as someone that's approaching the Second Age, very new to it, again, I've not read the Silmarillion, it was really exciting for me to get the chance to meet some of these characters, see where we are, see what I don't know versus some things I might know are coming. And I think the series has done a very good job of that in its opening episodes. And full credit to J.A. Bayona, who's of course directed the opening 2 episodes. I've only actually seen Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom of his, and I didn't mind that one compared to others. But I think it was a very inspired choice to direct. The opening 2 episodes, he's only doing the first 2. He's not doing any others in Series 1. I don't think he's doing any for Series 2, although obviously that is sort of up in the air, that that's moving to the UK now, so anything could change in that respect. But they were phenomenal to see on the big screen. And what kind of follows talking about that phenomenon, it's not just me talking about visuals, the fact they've built sets. It's being transported into this fictional world somewhere, again, I've not spent as much time in as many others, but I can see it, and them even making the choice to go and shoot in New Zealand, I can see that. You can see the budget. The fact this was shot during COVID as well, the amount of logistics problems they would have had on this production, and it's come out the way it has, I think is nothing short of remarkable. And it's going to be really exciting for people to get the chance to see this at home. And what pairs with those visuals to me is, of course, the music. Howard Shore is only Howard Shore is only composing the theme for this. You'll get that in episode 2. And we have Bear McCreary, who's done the score for this. And I'm not familiar with his work. I think he's an Outlander. I haven't seen Outlander, but his score in this is amazing. It feels like Lord of the Rings. It feels like a new era, a new age. This isn't the Lord of the Rings we know. This is something very different that, it's an era we're going to grow to know, because this is, of course, a 5-season series with 2 episodes in. Essentially, guys, we're 2 episodes in out of 40. That's my approach to this. Don't expect the plot to move at 500 miles an hour. It's not going to do that. What we get in these opening episodes is the chance to meet characters, whether they're new, whether they're characters we've met, I say the past, ironically the future within lore, played by different actors, of course, and we get to spend time with them, follow their story, see what they're doing, what is affecting them, what is leading them to this, and something I'm very reminiscent of. And I want to compare Game of Thrones, not in regards to production design, but in regards to story. When you begin season 1 of Game of Thrones, you get different story arcs, different cities, countries, and some might not pair up till 3 seasons down the line. Some might pair up in a few weeks' time. And how I felt with the first episode of Lord of the Rings is very reminiscent in that respect, that there is a gargantuan story being told. And because we're right at the entrance door to it, we might come across characters who are investigating something different. We might come across characters who are very settled in their environment, and something might happen to them. Of course, it's called Rings of Power. We know where the story is moving to, the forging of the rings. It's not a spoiler for me to say that. Obviously, it's not going to happen in episode 2. But what was very interesting for me was seeing these people we're meeting now for potentially the first time, potentially the last time, even We're making new grounds. We're going to places that don't appear in Lord of the Rings. Obviously, there's the island that I'm not going to... You don't know the background. I'm not going to kind of spoil it, because although you can read about it, but there are obviously places, locations in this that aren't going to be in Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. So it's the first time we're going to see them on screen as well. And it's just very exciting, because it's so hard to talk about when it's spoiler-free, because I think I've had a very good time with this. I think it's been exceptionally directed. As I said, the production standpoints are massive, but I'm invested. And I think when it's TV, when you're settling down for, a 40-episode series, you need to be pulled in. What's pulling you in? What is the story? What's been ambiguous? What they're showing you? What they're not showing you? There's enough there to bring me in. And like I said, I would be watching this anyway, but I didn't think I'd be as invested as I would be 2 episodes in. I thought maybe it would take half a season, maybe it would take a full season, but I'm fully on board with this, and I can't wait to see what else comes down the line, because there's enough there from the cast, from the performances, the writing as well. It's really interesting, because I mentioned I'd read the Hobbit. Obviously I've not read the Silmarillion. I know that Silmarillion is more or less like a Bible of kinds for Middle-earth in other ages. Again, I've not read it, so don't cry, but the dialogue I found very interesting with this, and they actually spoke about it in the press conference. It's Tolkien-esque is how the cast say it, but there's ambiguity within the writing, within the story, within the dialogue. And the people who are writing this are obviously in the know. Of course, there are the Tolkien family have authorised everything. Tolkien scholars have come on board, and multiple Tolkien scholars are on board, I'm going to add as well. And it feels like this is Middle-earth. It doesn't feel like someone's popped up and said, here's my take on Lord of the Rings. Here's me as a director doing this, and I know maybe people can say that happens in Star Wars, people can say that happens in Marvel, but this feels like we're back in Middle-earth in a different age to where we've been before. Things are different, the world is different, and I'm excited to see where the story is going to take us in that respect. And that's probably the most I'm going to say in a spoiler-free discussion, because I don't want to ruin the experience for anyone. There's some unbelievable action in this. There's amazing visuals, and that's not just visual effects. We get orcs in this, and the production design, you are seeing that budget on screen. You are seeing the makeup department. It's not just people in CGI costumes. The attention to detail in the costumes are absolutely incredible. And what I'm excited for is for people to get the chance to experience this properly this Friday. So I think that's going to do it for my review. I'm going to leave it a little bit shorter today. I'm going to make it ambiguous, but as I said, I'm happy to answer any comments you may have in that description below. Of course, I'm only going to answer spoiler-free stuff. And I'm only going to talk about the actual show itself, nothing ridiculous, none of the external stuff. I'm not going to give any time or day to the you-know-what, so I guess that's going to do it for the review. So, as I said, comment below if you want to find us on our social media, you want to find out what is coming up next. Of course, we're going to have Cobra Kai review next week. We've been able to see Season 5 early. We'll have a review dropping on the 6th for that. That's myself and Tate. Only us two were accredited screeners for those, so we're going to obviously have us two on that. And then we're going to have maybe some more people on the spoiler discussion when the series is out. Same with this. Same with House of the Dragon. There's a lot of TV at the moment. Cassian will be weekly. New releases for films. There's so much happening. The Steven Spielberg retrospective. If you're a fan of film, if you're a fan of cinema, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. It does mean a lot. We are working towards some goals, and I said we're excited to report more on this series and some of these other TV shows. And it's going to be very fascinating in a month or two when we get the big discussions around these. So, as I said, once more, thank you all for watching, and be sure to join us on the next one. Take care.